Let's do a little Friday morning read along. Chapter 3 of Finding Your Joy Spot. Fear, vulnerability, and courage. Walk into a bar. And before we dive into this chapter, let's get to know some characters in our stories. Courage, fear, and vulnerability walk into a bar. They sit down and they order drinks. Fear orders 2 doubles. They start to discuss an upcoming event and they talk about what's going on for each of them. Vulnerability says, I don't like the looks of this. We're going to be exposed. People will really see us. It feels risky. Fear says with such eloquence, are you kidding me? There's no freaking way I'm doing this. Courage says, we're doing this. Fear and vulnerability are cousins. They've grown up together. They've grown closer over the years and they whisper back and forth a lot, especially in stressful circumstances. Fear is less complex of the two. He sniffs out what he perceives to be dangerous from miles away and tries to get the group to turn back. Fear is not dynamic. He doesn't explore, he says, and sometimes screams, run! Vulnerability has some of fear's DNA. They're related after all. Vulnerability knows fear, but checks things out anyways. He says if one is to forge ahead, try something out, or create something, there is a risk. Courage is aware of all that vulnerability and fear have noticed, but understands if we don't do this, we risk staying small, not truly connecting or creating anything new or being innovative. The cousins gulp loudly in response. Courage allows immigrants to settle in new places, allows artists to paint, sing and dance, people to fall in love and run races. Feel nervous just thinking about these things? That's vulnerability and fear doing a number 1 on you. For those artists, runners, and lovers, it was not for lack of the warning shouts informing them of their possible demise. It was the courage to move ahead despite them. It's taking the risk of really and truly being seen, trying something out, reaching out, whatever it might be. It's risking flat out, but bearing nakedness and someone seeing the truth unhidden. And that's scary, even terrifying at times. Courage knows fear and vulnerability, and he says to them, I know you, but let's do this anyways. Gulp. Fear orders another double. Courage doesn't wipe out fear. True courage allows us to be vulnerable despite fear's Armageddon messages. Courage recognizes vulnerability and embraces it to say, this feels awful, but I'm going to do this. Not without you, but with both of you. When we tell someone how courageous they are, they come back 99.9% of the time. I don't feel courageous. I feel terrified or afraid or sad or overwhelmed. Brene Brown, a vulnerability researcher, says you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you cannot have both. The truth is, vulnerability is the birthplace of intimacy, true connection, creativity, and innovation. Vulnerability allows us to create something, launch a new business, perform a song in front of a live audience, publish a blog, or tell someone we love them. Vulnerability lets you put a boundary in place, deal with your declining health, or hold someone's hand when they're suffering. Vulnerability means flat out, unbridled courage. Courage is facing the cards that we've been dealt, a parent dying, a child with cancer, a car accident, or recovering from an assault. Courage might be as simple or as hard as putting one foot in front of the other when the load seems too much to bear. Courage is going on a first date after your marriage ended. Courage is reaching out for help and letting others know that you were terrified by a recent health diagnosis. Courage is applying for a new job after you've recently been laid off. Courage is telling your friend that you're scared. That's where courage and vulnerability come together. Courage is not about bucking up and moving ahead without help or strong emotions. Real courage isn't as simple as that. Courage is complex and beautiful. Courage is admirable and breathtaking. Courage is you. You have it in you to allow yourself to be seen, to really explore, and then really show up in all areas of your life and to truly live brave. It takes courage to allow joy into your life.